There's a moment on a quiet mountain trail in Hawaii when a woman realizes the person who's supposed to love her the most is the one trying to kill her. And the thing is, she's not sure which is more terrifying, the fall beneath her or the man standing inches away. What happens next turns a birthday hike into one of the most shocking attempted murder cases Hawaii has ever seen. And the question everyone keeps asking is simple: why? There's a point in this story where everything clicks. The screams, the syringes, the blood on the rocks, and you realize this wasn't an accident at all. It was a plan. Let me take you to a trail in Oahu, the Palipuka. If you've ever hiked it, you know the air up there feels different. Thin. The wind whips around you like it wants to remind you that one wrong step means a straight drop into the trees below. Now picture this. It's Gerhardt Konig's 36th birthday. A quiet morning. Blue sky. Just a couple, a mom of 2 young boys and her husband, out for a scenic hike. Nothing unusual. No warning signs on the trail. No frantic calls for help. Just 2 people walking along a narrow ridge, talking softly, surrounded by Hawaii's unreal beauty. And then, suddenly, the peace shatters. Hikers nearby hear screaming. Not playful shouting. Not someone startled. Screaming the way people scream when they think they are about to die. A woman's voice. Raw, panicked, begging for help. When those hikers round the bend, they don't know what they're about to see yet. They just know it's bad. The kind of bad that makes your heart drop into your stomach before your brain catches up. See a man pinning a woman near the cliff's edge. They see her trying to fight back. They see a rock in his hand. And the look on the woman's face? It's the look of someone who realizes she's fighting someone she once trusted with her whole life. Later, investigators would learn that this moment wasn't spontaneous. It wasn't a fight that got out of hand. It wasn't even a heat-of-the-moment rage. It was planned. Because what they find next, the syringes, the medical kit, the confession on a video call, is the kind of thing that makes even seasoned detectives stop and say, how does it, respected doctor, a family man, end up here? But before we get to that, we need to understand the people involved, who they were before this cliffside turned into a crime scene. Because to really understand this case, you have to understand the marriage behind it. Before the screams on the cliff, there was a family everyone thought was picture perfect. But behind that image, things were quietly falling apart. Gerhardt Konig wasn't the kind of person you'd ever expect to end up in a headline like this. She grew up smart, driven, warm, the kind of woman who becomes everyone's favorite. Co-worker without even trying. She had a PhD in nuclear engineering, worked at Westinghouse in Pittsburgh, and somehow still found time to be the fun mom to her 2 young boys. People describe her the same way again and again. Kind, patient, brilliant, and so devoted to her kids. She met Gerhardt Konig back in 2018 at a professional event. You know how sometimes couples have this whirlwind kind of beginning? The kind that feels like a movie montage? That was them. They clicked fast. Married fast. Kids followed. Career opportunities came. To the outside world, it looked like a power couple who had it all figured out. In 2020, they moved from Pennsylvania to Maui for Gerhardt's medical career. He was a respected anesthesiologist, even a former assistant professor at UPMC. This wasn't some chaotic or unstable life. It was comfortable, professional, the kind of life people envy. Ariel built a circle of friends. She explored Hawaii with her boys. She worked, she parented, she hiked, she baked. She lived the kind of life that feels safe. But here's the thing about relationships. What people see on the outside is almost never the whole story. In late 2024, things shifted. Gerhardt became consumed with jealousy that didn't make sense to anyone but him. He started accusing Ariel of cheating. He tried to control where she went, who she talked to, what she did. Friends later said she changed. She was more anxious, more careful about what she said, more tired. You might know this feeling if you've ever been around someone walking on eggshells, smiling on the outside, constantly bracing on the inside. By early 2025, the relationship wasn't just strained. Ariel told the court later that it felt dangerous, that she was scared, that her husband, this highly trained doctor, had become unpredictable. And this is important. She told people she wanted out. divorce, safety plans, a path forward for her and her kids. But sometimes, the moment someone tries to leave, that's when things escalate the fastest. And on March 24th, 2025, her birthday, that danger became real. The trail they chose that morning was supposed to be peaceful, even romantic. Instead, it became the scene of an attack that investigators later said had every sign of premeditation. The attack on the cliff wasn't chaotic or random. When you look closely at the timeline, you start to see the outline of a plan, one that almost worked. March 24th, 2025. Ariel's birthday. Think about that for a second. Most of us spend our birthday with people who love us. Dinner, a small celebration, maybe a relaxed day. For Ariel, it started that way. A quiet morning, a planned hike with her husband, something the couple had done before. They chose the Pali Puka Trail in Oahu. Stunning, narrow, a little risky, but doable. It's the kind of place people go for breathtaking views, Instagram shots, anniversary dates. Not attempted murder. Witnesses later said the weather that morning was good, clear skies, a light breeze, nothing dangerous on its own. They saw a couple walking together. Nothing unusual. But right around late morning, everything changed. Ariel later told authorities that as they got to one of the narrow ridges, just a few feet across with a steep drop, Gerhardt's behavior shifted. He became tense, focused. She said it felt like he wasn't hiking anymore, he was positioning her. And then it happened. He pushed her toward the edge. She stumbled, grabbed at shrubs and rock, anything she could. Most people who fall there don't survive, and she knew it. But she didn't go over. She held on. And that's when the attack escalated. According to charging documents, he tried to inject her with something. They later found syringes in his medical kit. Witnesses didn't know what was happening yet, they just heard screams. Pure panic. A woman yelling for help, hikers rushed toward the sound. By the time they rounded the corner, they saw something that became the core of this entire case. A respected doctor pinning his wife down, holding a rock. Not defending himself. Not trying to help her. Attacking her. Ariel was bleeding, head injuries, cuts, a broken thumb from trying to defend herself. One hiker later told police the look in her eyes was the look of someone fighting for her life. And here's the part that still hits people hard. She survived because strangers were nearby. Not because the plan failed on its own. Not because Gerhardt changed his mind. Because people heard her scream. When the hikers rushed in, Gerhardt ran. He took off into the forest. No hesitation, no attempt to check on her. Nothing. Just bolted. That moment right there, fleeing the scene, would become one of the prosecution's strongest points later. Ariel was taken to a hospital with a traumatic brain injury, deep lacerations, and a thumb broken so badly she couldn't grip anything. And while she was fighting to stay conscious, Gerhardt was somewhere in the woods, already acting like a man who knew he'd crossed a line he couldn't undo. This wasn't a heated argument. This wasn't accidental. This was personal, planned, and brutal. And the next 24 hours would make that even clearer. The moment police began searching for Gerhardt, the story cracked open, because he wasn't just running. He was confessing. Right after the hikers intervened, someone called 911. Multiple people actually. The report came in as an assault on a hiking trail, a woman injured, suspect fled into the brush, possibly armed, possibly unstable. The Honolulu Police Department responded fast. This wasn't a simple missing hiker. This was an active attempted murder suspect on the run in steep terrain. They brought in officers, drones, K-9 units. For hours, they combed through dense forest where visibility dropped to almost nothing. Meanwhile, detectives spoke with Ariel at the hospital. She was battered, disoriented, terrified, but clear about one thing. Her husband tried to kill her. And she wasn't guessing. She wasn't unsure. She wasn't confused. She said it directly. She told them about his jealousy, his accusations, his control. And she told them about seeing a syringe in his hand right before the attack. While officers searched for him, they also went to the Konig home. And what they found there changed the tone of the entire case. Inside Gerhardt's garage was a medical bag, the kind a doctor might take for emergencies. Except this one had syringes, anesthetics, including propofol, medications that could incapacitate someone quickly. This wasn't a hiking kit. This wasn't normal. It looked like preparation. As police continued the manhunt, something unexpected happened. Gerhardt called his adult son. Not his lawyer. Not police. His son. And in that video call, which the son later showed investigators, Gerhardt admitted what he'd done. He said he tried to kill Ariel. That video became one of the most damning pieces of evidence in the entire case. 7 hours after fleeing into the forest, officers found him. Tired. Dirty. He didn't put up a fight that he was arrested on suspicion of attempted murder and taken into custody. From that moment, the case escalated quickly. Ariel filed for a protective order. Prosecutors charged him with attempted second-degree murder. His bail hearing became public news because the details were so shocking. And when the court reviewed the medical bag, the syringes, the injuries, and the video confession, they denied bail. Completely. In Hawaii, that doesn't happen often. But this case, it was different. The more investigators looked, the clearer it became that this wasn't just a violent moment. It was the final act of something that had been building for months. And now the question wasn't simply what happened. It was why. Why would a successful doctor with no criminal record, who had a thriving career and 2 young sons, turn into someone capable of this? That's what Chapter 5 dives into: the red flags, the warning signs, and the theories that still trouble people who've followed this case closely. When investigators looked into the weeks leading up to the attack, they found that this cliffside incident wasn't sudden at all. It was the explosion at the end of a long, rising fuse. At first glance, this wasn't a case with multiple suspects. There was no mystery intruder, no strange encounter on the trail, no missing witness. The only question investigators really had to answer was, how did a respected doctor, loved by colleagues and patients, turn into the prime suspect in the attempted murder of his wife? To understand the how, detectives had to dig into the months, and even years, before March 24, 2025. And that's where the red flags began stacking up. The marriage that looked perfect, until it didn't. People who knew Ariel and Gerhardt before 2024 often described them as a smart, accomplished couple. 2 professionals. 2 parents. A stable family. But according to Ariel's later protective order filings, the marriage started to fracture in late 2024. Something changed in him. She said he became consumed by jealousy, not mild insecurity, but extreme, obsessive suspicion. He accused her of cheating. He allegedly checked her phone, monitored her movements, questioned her about coworkers. If you've ever known someone in a controlling relationship, you know how this pattern builds slowly, then suddenly. Friends of the couple said Ariel became quieter about her personal life, more guarded, more tired. She didn't go to a shelter. She didn't tell the world. She did what many spouses do. She tried to protect her children and keep the peace. But behind the walls of their home on Maui, prosecutors say the warning signs were everywhere. The medical knowledge factor, one of the things that disturbed investigators from the beginning, was the level of medical precision involved in this case. This wasn't just a domestic dispute that got out of hand. Gerhardt was a trained anesthesiologist, someone who dealt daily with sedatives, airway management, controlled substances, life and death decisions. He understood exactly how fast certain drugs work. He knew what they do to the body. He knew the difference between a dose that sedates and a dose that kills. So when detectives found syringes and anesthetics in his kit, it raised an immediate red flag, a huge one, because a surgeon hiking with his wife and carrying propofol and syringes? That's not normal. That's not an accident. And that's definitely not something you bring along just in case. This one detail, the medical bag, shifted the theory from violent argument to premeditation. Theories investigators considered. Even though the case centered on one suspect, police and prosecutors still had to explore all possible explanations. 1. The heat of the moment theory. Could this have been a sudden emotional outburst during an argument on the trail? The evidence didn't support that. She wasn't pushed once. She was pushed, pinned, injected at, and struck. Multiple steps, multiple actions, coordinated for a momentary snap. And again, the medical tools. Investigators dropped this theory fast. 2. The mental breakdown theory. Did he experience a psychological crisis? People who knew him said he had stress, yes, a demanding career, family pressure, but no established history of psychosis or sudden breaks. In fact, according to prosecutors, he was lucid enough to run, hide, call his son, confess, and give explanations that doesn't fit the profile of someone in a detached or delusional state. 3. The premeditation theory. This is the theory prosecutors leaned into. It fits the timeline. It fits the behavior. It fits the evidence. Ariel's protective order filings showed escalating jealousy and control. The medical bag showed planning. The chosen location, a narrow cliff trail, offered an opportunity for a fall. And the attack itself? It wasn't one strike. It was multiple attempts to incapacitate, silence, and kill. To many investigators, this was the story of a man who let jealousy rot his perception of reality until violence felt like the only way forward. Was there any other suspect? Not realistically. Even Ariel said, clearly and consistently, that her husband attacked her. Witnesses saw him over her with a rock. His own son heard him admit it. The only mystery became, at what point did he decide to kill her? Weeks before? Days before? That morning? That's the question that haunts even experienced detectives. And it's a question that Chapter 6 digs straight into, because what happened after the arrest brought a series of twists that revealed just how deep this situation went. Just when the timeline seemed clear, investigators uncovered details that didn't fit neatly into the narrative, including a discovery that suggested the attack might have been planned far earlier than anyone thought. Once police arrested Gart and reviewed the basics, Ariel's injuries, witness statements, the video confession, it looked like a straightforward case. But as prosecutors prepared for court, several developments complicated the story. Not in a way that cast doubt on his involvement, but in a way that revealed a darker, more methodical side to the case. The medical bag. Closer look. When forensic teams examined the medical kit found in the garage, they didn't just find random syringes. They found assorted needles, multiple vials of anesthetic drugs, and items that could only have come from a controlled medical environment. Some of these drugs required strict handling logs in a hospital. This raised two disturbing questions. 1. Why did he have them at home? 2. How long had he been holding on to them? Prosecutors quietly considered whether the cliff attack was the first attempt, or just the first one that was caught. No evidence proved earlier attempts, but the possibility was chilling. The video call confession. One of the most dramatic turns in the early investigation was the video call between Gart and his adult son, Emil. Imagine this. You're sitting at home. Your phone rings. It's your dad. And he says the words no child expects, "I tried to kill her." Emil immediately took that recording to investigators. He didn't try to protect his father. He didn't try to hide the truth. He did the right thing. That video became one of the strongest pieces of evidence in the case. Not just for what was said, but how it was said. Direct, not confused, almost resigned. A theory investigators never confirmed, but never ignored. There was a subtle detail that prosecutors didn't publicly push but was discussed in legal filings and hearings: the timing of the attack. It happened on Ariel's birthday. Was that symbolic? Chosen? Meaningful? Coincidental? No one can say with certainty. But many domestic violence experts later said anniversaries and birthdays are common escalation points. Moments when a controlling abuser feels triggered by the loss of control, the passage of time, or emotional vulnerability. It didn't change the evidence, but it added emotional weight to the prosecution's argument. The defense strategy that went nowhere early on, there were hints the defense might argue: mental breakdown, stress, exhaustion, or even confusion, but the recorded confession made those arguments almost impossible. You can challenge memories. You can challenge witnesses. But a video confession? That's different. And the judge saw it that way, too, denying bail because prosecutors showed enough evidence to prove both danger and premeditation. Dead ends that wasted investigators' time. Not every path in a case leads. Some were useful. There were a few dead-end leads. A rumor online that another hiker might have confronted them? False. A theory that an unknown third person was involved, disproven. A viral claim on social media about a mystery syringe, debunked. It was the same one police documented. A suggestion that Ariel might have lost her balance first. Impossible based on witness angles and terrain. All of these burned hours of investigative time. But that's the reality of modern cases. Public noise can be as distracting as it is helpful. The twist that hit the hardest as Ariel healed and prepared for court, she filed her protective order paperwork. And in those documents, she detailed months of escalating emotional and psychological abuse. For many viewers, this part of the story is the hardest. Because people often ask, why didn't she leave sooner? But the truth is painfully simple. Leaving a controlling partner is the most dangerous moment in an abusive relationship. And Ariel had 2 little boys to protect. Her documents describe fear, manipulation, accusations, and moments when she felt trapped. And when prosecutors compared those filings with the evidence from the trail, it painted a picture that was hard to deny. This attack wasn't spontaneous. It was the culmination of a long, dark unraveling. If you've stayed with this story up to this point, you're the kind of person who cares about real cases and real victims. If you'd like to follow more stories like this, consider subscribing so you don't miss the next documentary. By the time officers caught up with Gerhardt, he wasn't hiding, he was unraveling. Hours after the attack, the Honolulu Police Department had already launched one of the largest searches the Pali area had seen that year. Drones overhead. K-9 teams tracking scent. Officers combing dense brush where visibility was barely a meter. And then a break. Around 3 p.m., 7 hours after he fled, officers spotted movement in a wooded slope off the main trail. It was Gerhardt. Dirty. Exhausted. He didn't run this time. Didn't fight. Didn't deny. He just surrendered. But here's the disturbing part. During the arrest, officers noted something off in his demeanor. He wasn't confused. He wasn't panicked. He was almost emotionless, like someone who had already accepted the consequences long before the police even arrived. When they patted him down, they found his phone, a mostly empty medical supply kit, and scratches on his arms from moving through the forest, but the real evidence had already been found, in the garage, in his son's recorded video call, and on Ariel herself. He was transported straight to the Honolulu Police Department's main station for processing. And the moment news of the arrest hit social media, the story exploded. People couldn't make sense of it. A respected doctor? A nuclear engineer wife? An attempted murder on a scenic trail? Nothing about it felt normal. And yet, that was the reality. As detectives escorted him into the station, they described his expression as flat, focused, almost detached. Not the demeanor of someone who made a mistake. The demeanor of someone who had carried something dark for a long time. The courtroom became the place where the truth was stripped bare, and where Gerhardt's quiet facade finally cracked. Gerhardt's first court appearance was televised locally. The gallery was full. Journalists lined the hallways. People wanted to see the man who allegedly tried to kill his own wife on a birthday hike. He walked in wearing a standard jumpsuit, hands cuffed, eyes forward. No tears. No visible remorse. Just a controlled blankness. The charges prosecutors made it clear: attempted second-degree murder with evidence suggesting planning and intent to incapacitate the victim. The judge didn't waste time. They reviewed the medical bag with anesthetic syringes, Ariel's injuries, witness statements, the son's recorded call, and Gerhardt's flight into the forest. It didn't take long before the court reached a decision that shocked even seasoned reporters. Bail denied. Completely. No amount accepted. Hawaii doesn't deny bail often, but the combination of planning, violence, and risk of witness intimidation made it undeniable. The prosecution argued that this was not a moment of rage. It was premeditated. And then came the moment that changed public perception entirely. Ariel took the stand. Still healing from her injuries, still visibly shaken, she told the court what happened on that ridge. Her voice broke as she described the shove, the syringe, the rock, the look in his eyes, and the feeling that this man, the father of her children, wanted her gone forever. And she said the sentence that echoed across every news station and every social media feed that night. He looked at me like I was already dead. From that moment, sympathy for Gart evaporated. If there had been any doubt before, it was gone now. The defense struggled, his lawyers tried to argue mental instability, emotional strain, but nothing matched the evidence. How do you explain a medical bag, or syringes, or a video call confessing? The courtroom felt split. On one side, a brilliant, accomplished woman who survived something unthinkable. On the other, a respected doctor whose actions destroyed his life in a single morning. It was the kind of case that shook people because it showed how darkness can hide behind the most normal faces. And the trial was only just beginning. The attack didn't just break a family. It sent shockwaves through an entire community. The days after the attempted murder were a blur of disbelief. Honolulu is a place where bad news travels fast, but this wasn't ordinary bad news. This was a respected doctor, a man with a spotless career, accused of trying to kill his brilliant, well-loved wife on a narrow cliffside trail. People who knew them personally were stunned. Neighbors described Ariel as warm, polite, soft-spoken, someone who smiled at everyone. And Gart? The words people used were almost confusing in the context of his crime. Calm, professional, always polite, no one could reconcile the man they thought they knew with the brutality of the attack. Public outrage grew as the details became public. The syringe, the medical bag, the recorded confession. The public reaction shifted from shock to anger. On social media, people demanded justice. Domestic violence advocates began speaking out. Radio commentators questioned how many other victims suffer silently until something like this explodes into the open. For Ariel, the aftermath wasn't just physical recovery. It was emotional survival. She moved somewhere safe. She cut off all direct contact with Gart. She worked closely with detectives and prosecutors, even as she dealt with trauma, head injuries, and the harsh reality that the father of her children had tried to end her life. But something remarkable happened too. People rallied around her. Co-workers raised support funds. Friends organized help for her recovery. Women across Hawaii reached out, saying, "You're stronger than you know." She wasn't alone, even though she easily could have been. And while Ariel healed, Gart waited. The prosecution built their case. The defense scrambled. And then came the moment everyone had been waiting for, the final verdict committee. After months of evidence, testimony, tears, and uncomfortable truths, the judge delivered a ruling that would define the rest of Gart's life. The courtroom was silent. Ariel sat in the front row, hands trembling slightly, but chin raised. She had survived the worst day of her life. Now she had to relive it one more time. Gart entered the courtroom in a beige jumpsuit, thinner than before, his once confident posture replaced by something smaller. He didn't look at Ariel. Not once. The charges were read again, attempted second-degree murder, with evidence of premeditation, with medical tools prepared to incapacitate the victim. The prosecution presented their final argument. The push off the cliff, the rock attack, the syringe, the medical kit, the injuries, the flight into the forest, the video confession to his son. There was no single piece of evidence that made this case airtight. It was all of it together. A pattern, a timeline, a plan. Then came the defense's final plea. Emotional stress, mental imbalance, claims of a momentary breakdown. The verdict, when the judge returned and began speaking, the entire room leaned forward. And then, the court finds the defendant guilty of attempted second-degree murder. Ariel let out a breath she had been holding for months. Quiet tears. Not of sadness, of relief. Gart closed his eyes. His shoulders dropped. It was over. The sentence the judge ordered, 20 years imprisonment, with a possibility of parole late into the sentence, mandatory psychological evaluation, permanent protective order. For Ariel, the courtroom felt heavy, but also cleaner, like truth had finally taken up the space that lies and violence tried to occupy. As officers escorted Gart away, he briefly looked back. Not at Ariel, not at his family, just toward the exit, the place where the cameras were waiting, where the world was watching the fall of a man who had traded everything. His career, his freedom, his dignity, for one violent, deadly impulse he could never take back. For Ariel, she didn't win because the system was perfect. She won because she survived. She screamed. People heard. And justice, slow, painful, imperfect justice, followed. This case became a reminder, evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it looks like the person standing right beside you on a beautiful trail. In the end, this case wasn't just about a crime on a cliff. It was about control, survival, and the strength it takes to walk away from someone you once loved. When the verdict was read and the sentence was handed down, the case of the Paradise Cliff attempted murder officially closed. But for Ariel, and for everyone who followed this story, the impact didn't end there. Ariel's new life she rebuilt slowly. Doctors confirmed that her head injury, while serious, would heal. She returned to her work in nuclear engineering, not immediately, but eventually. And the people around her say she found strength in places she didn't know she had. Therapy, community, friends, and the belief that her life still had a future worth fighting for. She is not defined by the attack. She is defined by her survival. The lesson the case leaves behind cases like this force us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Danger doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes it comes from the person who swears they love you. Gerhardt wasn't a criminal on paper. He wasn't reckless, angry, or violent in public. He was a doctor, a father, a trusted community member. And yet, behind closed doors, and ultimately on a narrow hiking trail, the truth came out. This case reminds us, red flags matter even when they come wrapped in a polite smile. Control disguised as concern is still control. Silence can kill, but speaking up, even once, can save a life. And most of all, believe people when they say they're afraid. For the community, Honolulu and Hawaii as a whole took this case personally. It became a discussion point about domestic violence, mental health, jealousy, and how pressure can twist a person into something unrecognizable. Advocacy groups reported spikes in calls. Women shared their own stories. People walked the Poly Trail differently, more aware, more cautious, more mindful. What happened to Ariel wasn't just a headline. It became a warning sign for others. For Gerhardt, his fall was steep, sudden, and irreversible. A doctor who once saved lives will now spend decades behind bars. A father who once built a family is now estranged from it. A man who once had everything destroyed it with his own hands. And in the end, his story serves as a dark reminder. Intelligence doesn't prevent violence. Success doesn't prevent control. And love cannot survive manipulation or rage. Final words. When hikers reached Ariel on that cliff, they didn't know her story. They didn't know her life. They just heard a scream, and they chose to act. Their courage saved her. Her courage pursued justice. And now her story stands as proof that even in the most beautiful places, the darkest things can happen, but so can the brightest moments of human bravery. If you want to follow more stories of unsolved mysteries, domestic violence cases, and real-life survival, you can subscribe to the channel. It helps keep these stories in the public eye and honors the victims who endured them. Let me know in the comments what you think about this case and which story you'd like us to explore next.